I'm on a cruise ship, and we just pulled into the port of Mykonos, arguably Greece's most famous island. Long a stomping ground of the international jet set, Mykonos is always on the cutting edge. But I'm here to discover its softer side. I'll visit a local cook who will show me how to make the Mykonian classic kremidopita.
Do you like it?
I love it. And in the kitchen, I'll make an easy scordo macarona, Mykonian garlic pasta. Super simple. Oh, yeah. And a classic fish soup, avro lemono. Join me on my Greek table as I explore the deep-rooted traditions that are still alive on this glittering island. Mykonos, mythical, magical, and one of the most popular travel destinations in the world. Her nickname is Island of the Winds, and her history parallels the complex, multi-layered story of the entire Aegean. Windswept, arid Mykonos was an important trading post in the ancient world. The island has been Roman, Byzantine, Venetian, then fell to the Ottomans in 1537 and saved 3 centuries later by a patriotic Greek heiress. After World War I, the archaeological work on nearby Delos brought business back to the island. By the 1960s, Mykonos was the place to see and be seen, the stomping ground of the emerging international jet set. With its 24/7 nightlife, world-class hotels and restaurants, and famed, or by some accounts infamous beaches, Mykonos is like no other island in the world. But at the end of the day, it's also a place in the Aegean true to a simpler soul. One only has to escape from the main town and go a bit off the beaten track to find locals who love their native land and work hard to preserve its traditions. We're in Koukoulou. That's a village on the eastern side of Mykonos. And I'm with Kyria Zambeta, who's lived here all her life. And she's going to show me how to make the famous kopanisti of Mykonos. She starts with a soft sheep, goat, or cow's milk cheese called tirovolia. The tirovolia is crumbled, and a portion of the previous year's kopanisti is added to it. It's like adding starters. She's adding kind of like the yeast, the bacteria that will work into the cheese and ferment it over a few months. Okay. She mixes the cheeses together so the starter kopanisti is completely incorporated.
Τώρα για δοκιμάστε από αυτή.
Είναι τελείως άλλο πράγμα. It's still sharp, but it's not super peppery. It's very sour, but in a very pleasant way. You can taste the fermentation. The sharp, spicy flavor will continue to develop over the coming months. Locals like Kyria Zambeta have been making this unique cheese for ages. I'm on my way to meet Irini Zouganelli, a local cook who's made it her mission to preserve the traditional recipes of Mykonos. So I see you prepared a little feast here.
I like to cook with local products. So we have here some Mykonian bites. This is mostra, it's a local meze. This is local spicy cheese, kopanisti.
It's the famous kopanisti.
It's the famous kopanisti, okay. Yes, and olive oil and tomato.
It's very spicy. And this is Mykoniatico lucanico, Mykonian sausage.
With Mykonian herb, we call it freebie.
You can really taste the herb. And the pork also seems very fresh. And then we have cured pork.
It's louza.
Louza. And I see a little bit of looks like a spice rub.
Yes, salt, pepper, allspice, and freebie and oregano.
Now what is this beautiful white cheese? Looks like a piece of marble.
Sinotiro. This is from cow. We can make it also from a goat or a sheep.
They're so creamy and a little sour, like xino. It's a little sour.
That's why we call it xinotiro. Xino is sour.
and tsibita,
Yes.
pinched pies.
We use soft cheese, we call it tirovolia, cinnamon, honey, and sugar.
It's really nice. With coffee, this would be excellent. I want to see the kremidopita, the onion pie.
Okay.
I know that's one of the most famous dishes of Mykonos.
Let's go.
So, πάμε.
We're going to make first the dough. I add the water, almost a glass of water. I add some olive oil, like half.
So very exact measurements.
Yes.
This looks like vinegar.
Yeah.
Dough always needs acid. That looks like it's fire water.
Yes.
Raki.
And salt.
Okay.
I like to put first all the liquid things, and then I use as much flour I want.
Yeah, you can't. It's easier to add
Yes.
dry than wet. You need. I'll pour. So that's 6, right?
Yes.
And this is just all-purpose flour.
Yes.
7. So is this a soft pastry?
It's soft, it's like a baby.
Ah, okay. And how do you know when it's ready?
When it's not sticking, yes.
Yeah, so you need it like a Mykoniatisa yaya. Did you learn this recipe from your mom?
For my mom. So it's ready.
Ah, can I feel?
Yes.
It is soft like a baby.
Yes. I like very much.
Okay, I'm curious to see how you make the filling.
This is tirovolia. It's
Tirovolia,
soft
okay.
cheese.
Okay.
And the dill.
And dill.
And dill.
Okay. And I have to cut the onions
Yes,
next.
2 onions.
Do you cook the onions? Or are they going raw?
No, fresh. Salt and pepper. It's enough. And 1 egg.
And an egg. And this is a Mykonian
Yes,
chicken's egg.
my mom's.
I can tell by the color of
yes.
the yolk. There are 7,000 people who live on Mykonos year-round and 1 million people in the summer. But I love the fact that there are still parts of the island that are pretty rural.
It's ready. Do you want to
Okay.
try?
Ooh, it's so fresh. It's very springy. It rolls out very easily.
It's very soft. I add some olive oil.
Lots of olive oil.
I think it's okay.
Ah, I see. So we're pushing it up against the side so that there's some depth to put the filling
Yes.
in. Okay.
So I add the cheese. Can you keep it for me?
Sure.
And I take the spoon and I push it like that.
Okay, so this is fine. It's all spread out where how it has to be.
I turn it like that.
Ah, okay. And so we're covering the filling.
And I
So
push
this
it.
is a very different technique.
This is my technique.
So when you were growing up in Mykonos, how often would your mom make this?
Almost every day.
Oh, every day.
It's ready.
So we just put this on top.
That's it.
That's it.
So with a knife, we make
You make the pieces,
yes,
basically.
the pieces.
Okay. And how long does this take to bake?
1 hour and maybe 10 minutes more.
Ah.
It depends of the oven. And with a fork, I make
Ah, okay.
holes to take air and bake it better. And
Olive oil,
on
of
top.
course. Looks beautiful.
Do you want to use this?
The wood burning.
The wood.
I would love to bake this in the wood burning oven.
Okay.
I'm making one of the best dishes from one of the most famous places in Greece, Mykonos. And you'll be surprised at how simple this is. It's called scordomakarona, basically garlic pasta with tomatoes. This is the Greek yaya's way of not using a food processor. You do it on a hand grater, and you get this beautiful, chunky, fresh tomato. And what you end up with at the end is basically a beautiful butterflied tomato skin and all this delicious juice and pulp. A lot of garlic goes into this dish, and I like to use it in slivers so that you can actually chew on it. Traditional Greek cooks do not shy away from garlic. Does need quite a bit of olive oil. I'm just gonna cook this up very slowly, careful not to burn it. Empty the tomato into the pan slowly. I'm just gonna let that cook. A little bit of sugar. There's always a little bit of acidity in a good tomato, so you try to balance that with some sugar, a little bit of salt, and a spritz of black pepper. And while this is simmering, I'm gonna get the spaghetti going. Let me add a little salt. So this dish dates back pre-Chios. This is a pre-Chios dish, really traditional Mykonos, when the island was still poor. People needed to figure out how to get by without using so much meat. This is imitating the idea of spaghetti with ground meat sauce, except I'm using rusks instead of ground meat. So we're crushing this with a mortar and pestle. And by doing that, we're simulating basically the texture of ground meat. And when it's sprinkled over the tomato sauce and it gets a little wet, it'll be very similar actually in texture. It's done. We want a little bit of texture on that so you can see that there's still some uneven pieces. You could do it in a food processor, but you wouldn't get this, you know, kind of nice unevenness. I'm ready to marry these two. Just lifting my pasta straight out of the pot, mixing it right into the sauce. I'm just gonna mix this together. Super simple. I'm getting those nice garlic cloves in here too. It's exactly what we want. I love it. A little of the crunchy rusk on top. Some parsley. I always like a little black pepper on my pasta. Not too much. And the pièce de résistance, which is not something that traditional cooks on Mykonos would probably do, but I have this wonderful kopanisti that beautiful Greek yaya made for us. And I just want to add a tiny bit, kind of a reminder of my beautiful trip to the island. If you can't find Mykonos kopanisti, you can make your own just by mashing feta cheese, oregano, black pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. Or you can enjoy it without any cheese at all. It's totally delicious this way. Wow. This absolutely proves that simplicity is the key to good eating. The garlic is soft, but it's there. And the fresh tomato has that beautiful balance of acidity with that little bit of sugar. I got a little bit of that spicy Mykonos kopanisti and some of the rusks. What more do you want? Spaghetti with fresh tomato sauce, garlic, and I have a great wine picked out. I chose a single vineyard rosé made with the Xinomavro grape from the area of Amindeo. It has hints of rose petal and strawberry. It's a really nice match with the tomato sauce and the garlic. Easy here. Wow, Irini, this looks great.
Thank you.
It looks beautiful, and like a lot of love went into this. I have to try one of these.
Okay, enjoy it. My cremidopita. And
Yes,
I take
your
this
cremidopita.
small pie.
Do you like it?
I love it. It's very refreshing. It has a nice herbal, like almost grassy, beautiful flavor from the dill and the green onion, which has a little bit of a bite to it. So it's not a very rich tiropita like I'm used to. This is much lighter. The cheese is also quite light.
You can feel all the ingredients.
Yeah, you can taste all the ingredients. The dough is very bready, so it's almost like a cheese bread. It's nice. It's very rustic. Είναι πολύ νόστιμη.
Thank you. Enjoy it.
Fish soup is on the menu today. Classic Greek fish soup called psarosoupa avgolemono. I'm going to start with my carrot. We just want to get this cut and ready to go into the pot with the celery and the onions, kind of the basic vegetable mix for the soup. This is a recipe that we find basically all over Greece, but especially in the islands. First time I had it was in Ikaria, where my family is from. When I was a little kid, we were sitting on the dock in Agios Kyrikos, the capital of the island. And at first I was a little bit scared to eat it, but it smelled so lemony and it just seemed to go really well with the whole environment of the sea that I tried it. I sheepishly dipped my spoon into it, and it was an absolute epiphany. It's one of the most delicious dishes in all of Greece, and it's a classic recipe. I like to do the carrots, the celery, and the onions all together. You can use red or white onion. Just give that a swirl. I really just want to get these soft, no color. Add a little bit of salt. This is Greek sea salt. And just leave it for 4 or 5 minutes for the vegetables to soften. Let's reveal the sweated vegetables. And I'm ready to add the garlic. My fish is going in here next, and I want to talk about this guy for a second. It's called milokopi, but it's also called croaker. It's one of the main farmed fish in Greece. You can find Greek farmed fish in the States, and you can use anything. You can use bream or bass or grouper. A little bit of water. Okay. Add a little bit of salt to the water and a touch of black pepper. You want to use whole fish because all the good stuff is in the head and in the bones. That's what really gives the fish soup its flavor. Bring it to a gentle simmer. That's very important when you make fish soup. You don't want a rolling boil because you don't want the fish to fall apart. So a very gentle simmer. It's going to take about 15 minutes. Oh, yeah. Looks to me like the fish is perfect. Fork tender. You can see it's about to flake off. It's time for this to come out. Okay, there we go. The fish needs to cool a little bit. I'm gonna clean it. I want it to be totally boneless. I'm gonna shred the flesh and put it back in here. But first we have to cook the rice. And this is a medium grain, rather starchy rice. We call it glacé in Greek. Just gonna give that a stir. This guy's ready to be cleaned. First thing we're gonna do here is get rid of that. The skin is very gelatinous and sticky, and it's not gonna be very pleasant if I put it back in the soup. So I wanna get that off. And we wanna get the spine out. Let me just collect that. Because there are a lot of little bones in here. So this will now open up right along the center bone there. Don't be afraid to do this. It's a lot easier than it looks. And basically what we want to do is shred the flesh and just feel your way through it. You want to pick out any bones. You see these little bones here? That's exactly what we want to get out. Almost done, just a couple more pieces. And by the time you finish cleaning through the fish, the rice will be cooked. Ready to make the avgolemono. I'm just using egg yolks because I want the fish soup to have a nice yellow color, a deep yellow color. I'm gonna start whisking them vigorously. You want it to be thick, to fall off the whisk in kind of a thick stream. I'm gonna slowly add the lemon juice to this, and I'm using fresh strained lemon juice. It takes a little bit of patience, but we want to get frothy egg yolks in here, and the lemon juice and the egg together will achieve that result. And then we're gonna slowly add our hot broth, and when you get it out of the pot, you want to try just to get the liquid. And the reason we're doing this is to temper the egg yolk mixture so that when it goes back in here, the eggs don't curdle. You do this very slowly, whisking all the while. A little bit more. You know it's done when the egg mixture is warm. We're tempering it. That's essentially what we're doing. This is going right back into the pot. Turn the heat off because you don't want an omelet in your soup. Pour it in quickly and swirl it around. And you've got this beautiful, creamy avgolemono. Yeah, that looks really good. My fish is going back in. Just gonna stir this around. And this is exactly like what I remember as a kid, and it's inspired by one of the most popular places in the world to visit, Mykonos. Oh, that is so thick. It's actually exactly what we're looking for in a perfect avgolemono. I have to say, I'm very excited to taste this. So lemony and creamy. It's substantial, but it's also a very gentle reminder of the beautiful Aegean. To me, one of the nicest wines to pair with a creamy, lemony fish soup, avgolemono, is actually one of the most popular Greek whites. It's a malagousia, and it's from the northern Greek area of Epanomi. It's an indigenous grape varietal, which was actually saved from extinction by a winemaker in northern Greece. Look at that golden wheat color. This wine has very nice crisp acidity, and that pairs beautifully with the richness and the creaminess in the fish soup avgolemono. Isi Hian to the timeless Aegean.